Boom, 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 everybody. Happy Saturday to you. I hope you're having a great Saturday and an amazing weekend so far. My name is Don Terrell, and of course, I want to welcome you to another great episode of The Color of Motion, where I like to say, hey, stories come in all shades. And I highlight people of color and diverse backgrounds in the industry of motion graphics, animation, visual effects, cartoons, and comics that I love, love, love so much. You know the drill. Hop into the comments, say hey, where you're tuning in from, so that I can give you the shout out that you so richly deserve. Hopefully, we're going live here like we should be. Yes, we are. Let me make sure that we are going live on all the channels. That's always the scary part, you know. You got to make sure that we are streaming live, and you jumping into the comments will definitely help. So I'll know that hey, you're seeing it from one of the channels. And like I always like to say, this is an interactive show, so you have to kind of engage. Like I said, we are here each and every Saturday afternoon, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, live to the YouTube channel, LinkedIn, and the Facebook group and website for the show. But I always encourage everybody to hop on over to the YouTube channel, get plugged in, subscribe, hit the bell notification, give a thumbs up, all that good stuff so that you are notified when we go live or when the show goes live and when new content goes up on the channel. So that way, plus you'll be plugged in to the community. That's where pretty much everybody kind of congregates. That's where I'm trying to get everybody to congregate. Again, the YouTube channel, there you'll be able to see all the great new content that goes up on the channel. Also, I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor for the show, DG Graphics. They do all our graphics, animations, overlays, and basically over these past years made us look good and got us to this point. So big shout out to DG Graphics for always supporting the show. And if you're a business or a brand that's looking to level up your brand content, create more engaging content, and really step it up on your social channels, you definitely want to reach out to DG Graphics and get a call. Also, definitely got to put a call out there for all of my things to, help support the show. buymeacoffee.com/Don Terrell. There you can donate whatever you so choose. Any little bit helps and definitely helps me to continue to create great content and bring great guests, such as my guest today on the show. Again, and who doesn't love a great cup of coffee? I do. buymeacoffee.com/Don Terrell. And there you can support the channel and help me to continue to march on. And we're marching on. This season 6, is on fire. Like I said, we are closing out, getting ready to close out this second quarter. We got one more episode next week, and we'll be closing out second quarter. And it's been one heck of a quarter. We've had some amazing guests on. And again, today is, no exception. Also, if you are one of those ones that just loves to listen to the audio side of it, you can find some of our episodes up on Spotify, some of the other audio platforms like iHeart, music.com and Amazon Music. There you can find some of the episodes up on there. Working to get even more episodes up, as audio episodes up as well, for those ones that want to listen to us on the go. For sure. What else? Man, I hope you're having a great weekend. It's, kind of stormy here where I'm at. So I was telling my guests beforehand, I hope we make it through because, we're having a thunderstorm come through. And as I always say, what happens live, typically you got to roll with it. It happens live. And you've been with me enough times to have seen some stuff happen. So I appreciate you rolling in with me. What else? I think I got pretty much all the housekeeping stuff out the way. Again, super excited about today's episode because this is a little different. Well, yeah, this is a little different than the majority of the last ones have been. We've had more, seasoned veterans in the industry, whichever particular industry, I had on. They were more seasoned. But today's guest is just getting into the industry. So we're going to have some great conversation about his perspective of coming into the industry, especially during this time, and to think about and what to look at coming into this industry now, if you're thinking about coming into the industry now. So super excited to have a fun little chop it up session with my next guest. Again, make sure you hop into the comments if you have questions. Please make sure you take advantage and ask the guest, because that's what he's here for. Here for to pick his brain. With that, I think we can get this train on the tracks. I think so. What do you say? Let's hop over here. Oh, jumped into the wrong one there. We are going to hop back here where we were supposed to. Sorry about that. Again, what happens live happens live. You got to roll with it. And I appreciate y'all sticking with me. With that, we're going to bring out our next guest. I am super excited. My next guest is a 3D animator specializing in stylized animation with a deep interest in nuance and strong performances. His aim is to reach a high level of expression in the medium and to make an impact on others while putting a sense of self into his work. He got interested in animation due to watching YouTube and games with his brother, and recently graduated from the Savannah College of Art and Design just last year in May. So, like I said, please, everybody, help me welcome my very special guest and friend, Mr. Carlin Taylor.
Hello. Thanks for having me here.
Mr. Carlin.
Yes,
Welcome,
hi. Hello,
welcome,
hello.
welcome to the studio, the Color of Motion studio. And as I said, welcome to the Color of Motion family. Just being on, and we kind of were chopping it up before the show. Super looking forward to sitting down, talking with you about your perspective, because as I had mentioned before, the majority of the guests I have had on, and friends that have come by have been a little seasoned in the industry, and been in the industry for a while and a little bit. I have had a few uh, really new graduates when I did have them on, or just recently. But always good to give a perspective, especially during this time. We were joking beforehand as I read, how you kind of got into it, watching YouTubes and games, with your brother and stuff. How it was a little
Yep.
different, with my time of what got me inspired just Saturday morning cartoons. What were the kind of animations that you enjoy and the games that you enjoyed playing and watching with your brother that really kind of sparked that interest in you?
Man, we played a lot of games growing up. I mean, still do to this day. I grew up playing a bunch of fighting games with my brother, and although I didn't really like fighting games as much, he was really ecstatic about them. I played it with him, and then I got really exposed to the medium through that. And then I started getting on YouTube and seeing, a lot of walkthroughs and gameplay videos, just because I was a gamer. I mean, I can't deny it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and
Well, I
it,
mean,
it
but
was
at
great.
that time, you didn't have an illusion, or did you have an idea that this was something I could make a living doing, or go to school and learn how to do,
Oh yeah.
and like I said, make a living doing?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. It happened when I think I came across this series by Rooster Teeth by the name of Ruby. I'm sure a lot of animators, even animators I've met at my college, are familiar with. And then since then, that was like my first time seeing these animated, stylized characters in a sort of a story setting. And then I remember binge watching it for nights, and then being captivated ever since. And then I
Yeah,
looked
yeah.
like, yeah, that's what I want to do for sure. So
So what was your well, let me ask you, did you have before that, did you have any illusion of being anything else or wanting to do anything like I want to do this, mom and dad, this is what I want to be growing up, or did you have any illusion of doing that?
I loved cars as a kid. I loved cars a lot. Like every Christmas, I was anticipating some Hot Wheels or some kind of car themed present of a sort. But I loved cars as a kid, and I think my first occupation, maybe when I was like really really little, I was like, I want to be a NASCAR driver, and then I was like,
Uh-huh.
whoa, wait, okay. And then after that, it kind of transitioned to me wanting to be an automotive engineer. Um, but I
Always
kind of wanted to
more.
chase that.
Yeah, and always more. Well, what was your okay when you did make that decision to go
Yeah.
to Savannah? This is what I
Hmm.
want to do. What was kind of your parents, kind of the action, your friends, kind of the action. This is where I'm. This is the direction I'm going.
They were Everyone was pretty supportive, of my decision, as long as I was able to kind of get there. I was going to community college at the time, so I was still trying to navigate exactly how I wanted to execute that. And I think that was probably one of the best decisions that I was kind of guided towards, because that led to me ultimately being able to go to art school and pursue what I really wanted to do in life. So it really just started from there, and then I'd say I got lucky. I worked
Yeah.
hard. I did earn it, but other than that, yeah.
Well, I'm a big proponent of having advocates and people
Hmm.
that really champion it. Helping you get to that goal that you want to go. For me, it was a counselor in high school that really helped encourage me by just bringing me information, saying, "Hey, you need to
Yeah.
apply for this scholarship. You need to apply for that scholarship. There's this school. There's that school." Did you have that? You said you went. Well, initially, did you have that in high school, and then moving into community college, did you have? You said there was a teacher there that kind of directed you to Savannah. Who was that person initially in high school that was that one that kept you going or inspired you to think about going further?
It had to be. Oof, man, there's so many great people. It had to be my coaches. I think I'm gonna pass it off to. I did sports growing up. I did basketball and track and field, and I remember I had coaches across two high schools that I went to that really pushed me and showed me that skill set in terms of like leadership and collaboration. So I think the drive that I had from being competitive in sports and uplifting the people around me and things like that. I mean, it just kind of drove me to reach new heights. Um, and as for like in community college, that person who kind of guided me towards the Savannah College of Art and Design was Dr. Patricia West. She was my honors advisor, and she was a very, very supportive individual for me throughout my time there. So
Now, was that uh, you're in? Obviously, you're in Mississippi. So was
yes,
that because of proximity, or well, I mean, you could have obviously went to Ringling. What was your
yeah.
decision on Savannah? I mean, obviously there
Hmm.
were a lot of other colleges that were had art programs or anime programs that you could look at. Most
Yeah.
people are going to kind of look at proximity of depending on where they go. But
Hmm.
again, you got a scholarship, and so that kind
Yeah.
of took a lot of the sting out of just having to go worry about paying for school. Was it was that the reason that you chose Savannah because of the proximity of where you were?
No, no, definitely not. Actually, so yeah, working with Dr. West, I was involved with this honor society, so I had like a pretty big leadership position, and I got really involved in it. I started interacting with my community, and applying for scholarships left and right. Preparing for transitioning to another college or university after that, and then I did a lot, and I became a scholar thanks to Dr. Patricia West's help. I became a Jack Kent Cook Scholar, a Guest White Scholar, And then, ultimately my community efforts led to me receiving a full ride, being able to choose where I wanted to go. So with that, Dr. West was also kind of like my counselor in a way. So she showed me SCAD, and we talked about it. We had multiple meetings, looked at the resources that the school provided, the career opportunities that the school prepared us for, or me for, I should say. And I think after that, I just kind of fell in love with it because you started showing me videos and stuff too, and it just really went from there,
Yeah,
and one thing led to
yeah.
another.
Well, I want to dive obviously kind of into your time at SCAD because
Yeah,
obviously that shapes a lot of, you know, who you are as an artist coming into the industry as well.
yeah.
Kind of talk a little bit about, just your time at SCAD, the people that you met, um, you know, going through it.
Sure, yeah, yeah. So when I went to SCAD, you know, actually, I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. Before I even went on campus, I didn't know too much about animation. I actually went to just learn the medium from the ground up, and I should say, just post graduation, I'm at a good spot. But at SCAD, yeah, no, it was a beautiful, beautiful college. There were so many resources that they make available to the students. Amazing professors. I have a lot of fond memories there as well with like my colleagues and the late nights that we spent working on our animations. It's really great, and I really like the community feel that it actually kind of had. So the
Yeah,
college, it's really grandiose, but it felt really compact with the people that I was interacting with.
yeah.
So it was
Well, what
amazing.
was the kind of I guess, the biggest takeaway that you kind of took from your time at SCAD?
Let's see. Maybe maybe it was that work ethic that they instilled in us. Because I think there was this sort of myth that they could have over prepared us for the industry. But yeah, I think the professors and the interactions that I had in class, they showed that they really cared, and you could really be yourself there, of course. And I think that was probably one of the biggest things. I knew I could be myself. I knew I was interacting with everyone who I could, and
Yeah.
I knew that they were going to support me on my way there. So
Well, I'm curious what their conversations towards
yeah,
you and the students were about coming into the industry now. Obviously, they're aware of what's going on and all the layoffs studios are making and things
yeah.
like that, and AI and everything that's going on within the industry. What was
Mhm.
their conversation towards you and the rest of the group that was getting ready to enter into the industry?
Yeah. While I was in classes, I'd say like we started noticing it happening kind of in real time, like transitioning into, I guess I don't want to say chaos, but what it is right now.
Yeah.
And I'd say like they told us to always adapt. Be ready to add on some more skills, and make sure that we are prepared for what's to come. Because in the industry right now, there's a lot of uncertainty, but being able to just apply yourself regardless of what's coming towards you. I think that they prepared us a lot for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, I think that they usually had a pretty optimistic mindset towards it. It was funny. I think one of my animation classes, because everyone was a little panicky about the direction that we were moving in.
Yeah.
My professor always walked in and was like, "All right, well, we're coming out of it. We're coming out of it. I'm seeing some job opportunities pop up." Every class, it kind of turned into a joke. Like, "All right, professor, yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's get this animation on the road."
Oh
So
man. Well, that
pretty
is
good.
I find that an oddity too because
Yeah,
I see a lot of job postings and studios you know saying, hey, we're looking for this position or that position, but still on the flip side, you're hearing about all the layoffs and shutdowns and
yeah,
stuff like
right.
that. So it's a really strange thing. While there a lot of studios are laying off, there still are a lot of projects being made.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. Yeah. There's a multitude of projects being made for sure. I'd say like with that, I am on social media a good bit, keeping track of what direction we're kind of moving in. I
Yeah.
do tend to try to keep a optimistic, mindset towards it. I see a lot of posts going on about, this layoff happened, or I'm feeling this way about the industry right now, and I try to keep my friends and colleagues kind of away from that, kind of remind them that what they're working towards, why they got into this industry in the first place.
Yeah.
And then I usually try to, like, connect with them and keep them moving,
Yeah.
because that's usually what I try to do with this.
Well, I mean, it's a hard thing because
Yeah.
obviously you have to deal with the reality of I got bills to pay. So I know a lot of
Yes.
people have had to just make a shift into any job that they can earn money, and that the struggle of just a lot of friends and creators I know they talk about how hard it is just to find a regular job, just to get a regular job. It is,
Yeah. Yeah.
how long it took them just to get into that. Um, Again, everybody just jumping in. We're having an amazing conversation with my friend and guest, Mr. Carlin Taylor, new to the industry and 3D animator. Um, During this time, and I want to ask you this because we did talk about this a little, before show.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, the teachers, are aware of what's going on in the industry today. Talking about and talking to the students about this time of social media,
Mm.
monetizing, how to really monetize or how to really put your skills out there to even whether monetize or just get attraction.
Mm.
Was that a thing too as far as marketing yourself? And that's a conversation that I've had with several veterans, talking about just how some students just coming into the industry have a lack of just really marketing themselves or selling themselves, effectively. Is that something that was really kind of worked over in the school of how do I really, effectively make myself better while I'm looking for a job? If it is, how do I raise my skill level even more while I'm
Mm.
looking for a job?
Yeah. So, at SCAD in particular, I think one of the biggest things that they pushed in regards to just, marketing ourselves was communication. Like I said, with the multitude of resources that they provided, we had these courses where we were trained, I think, weekly, just having these opportunities to just kind of, pitch and market ourselves, interact with people in the industry, in a face-to-face setting. But outside of that, I think that was one of the biggest things. We also had, courses centered around, um, you know, establishing your brand, and I think I took about maybe three of them. It was actually
Yeah,
one of the highlights, I think, of my time at SCAD, because I had so much fun just, like, figuring that out.
yeah,
Um, and I should clarify with that, a lot of self reflection kind of comes with that, because you gotta, get yourself out there. And with that, I think that, yeah, I was pretty prepared to market myself. It's just a means of applying that now that we've graduated and whatnot.
yeah.
So. Mhm.
Well, I want you to kind of talk about your experience stepping away once you picked up that diploma. Okay,
Whew.
I don't got to go to school anymore. So, what was your kind of next steps once you got your diploma and say, the next 4 or 5 months, and how long did it take you to, before you really, I guess, found your first thing, and what was the
Mhm.
first thing you did, and kind of how did you move forward those next few months after you got your diploma?
All right. I mean, well, with that, job applications started happening every single day. Of course, we're motivated to do it during school, but I mean, they really ramped up after graduation. With that, I think the mindset I kind of developed afterwards was just, all right, well, now that we've learned all these things, now it's time to actually apply it. Um, I think with one of my mentors, you know him, Joshua Leonard. He
Mr.
said
Joshua.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. He said, he told me, yeah, the portfolio pieces start now, so it's time to get to work. Yeah, yeah. So, I think
Oh,
a thing that we think about in school is that, with every assignment, we try to turn it into a portfolio piece. I think there's some good, and then there's some bad with that mindset,
mhm,
because allegedly you won't have a lot of time to put into some of these assignments. It's really just an exercise. But now that you have that time post graduation, then of course that'll be a better spot to start making those pieces in themselves. Not saying that you shouldn't have anything in your demo, you definitely build it up, but I think that'll help some students out that are kind of going through the ringer right now, I guess, with their courses. Um, but yeah, with that, I started animating in a style of studios that I wanted to go to. I started doing a little bit more game animation specifically because I was really focused on film while I was in those courses. And then,
Was
you know,
that
I
the
just started,
direction
yeah.
that you wanted to go, film, or was it games? Kind
I
of.
would say like I'd say film. I'd say film, but I also have obviously a lot of experience, you know, with games,
Yeah,
and I hear that that's an easier industry to break into because you know you're animating quicker, you're doing loops, you're learning a lot in a shorter time frame, literally in terms of like
yeah,
keyframe count. So you know, I what I tried to do, I think, was make a very versatile demo reel in terms of film and game.
yeah,
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And a lot of the times I really try to just animate something that I haven't animated yet, just to kind of push myself and make sure that I'm still, you know, developing now that I'm not, you know, in a class setting. So, you know, with that, yeah, I mean, it's really fun because now you can just animate what you want.
yeah,
So,
yeah. Well, I'm curious. Are you in the
mhm.
mindset of like a lot of, I guess, creators or animators or just creators in whatever discipline? Once you figure out that that's the path you want to go down, focus on that. So you're not modeling, you're not texturing, you're not rigging, you're focused on character animating. Is that kind of your thinking, or at this point are you feeling like I got to be able to do a lot of that, you know? I mean, I'm obviously going through SCAD, they give you basic, you know, the knowledge to do all of that
Foundationals. Yeah.
stuff, but I'm pretty sure they're telling you, hey, you're going to find yourself picking in a niche unless you kind of, you know, get into a studio. A small studio is probably going to want you to do a little more. A
Hmm.
bigger studio, say like Pixar or Disney, they're going to
Hmm.
want you in a specific, they're hiring you for a specific thing. Is that something that, you know, you focus on more now? Just, I want to get better at character animating because that's a beast in and of itself, regardless of just getting better at that, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, with animation, I mean, I think it's best to have, you know, something you really want to specialize in, but also something you can kind of fall back on, maybe like a secondary skill, I should say. Um, but yeah, I think as of recent times, I kind of want to be able to be a little bit more versatile in the animation space, and be able to express myself in the medium. So I definitely am trying to learn new things. Rigging is actually the next thing that I'm trying to pick up, in motion capture animation,
Mm,
specifically with that as
yeah.
well. But yeah, no, I think that, yeah, now I'm trying to dabble in, gain some more skills, while also just working on the animation principles that I, of course, learned through school. So I'm expanding out now, just to put it simply. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Again, everybody just jumping in. We are having an amazing conversation with 3D animator extraordinaire, Mr. Carlin Taylor,
Hmm.
talking about his experience walking into this industry. Um, do you feel like schools need to do a little bit better as far as the business side, maybe, of teaching or at least educating kind of on the business side of being a creative? Because I've had a guest, obviously, I've had several guests on, but I've had a big guest on, Chris Doe, who
Hmm.
talks about that. He's a former motion designer, but he moved over to the teaching creatives the business side of, you know, how to, you know, monetize your skill, talk to clients,
Hmm.
that type of thing. Do you feel like schools now are just the focus on like what I was telling you that, you know, I graduated from the Art Institute and it was just like a cogwheel, you know, just like a factory. They're just trying to churn out factory workers type of thing. They didn't really teach you, you know, about business, the art, you know, the art of creative business and that type of thing. Is that
Hmm.
something you feel like SCAD and maybe other schools are missing, or do they teach kind of the, you know, the business side of being a creative?
SCAD does. SCAD definitely does, offer the business side of, you know, of being a creative for sure. I would say there's still an opportunity there, I guess, in terms of just, you know, applying it. I can't go too deep into necessarily how they can go about doing that, but I think a little bit more exposure in terms of, just presenting yourself in that in that aspect, would definitely have helped out here and there. So, but I mean, throughout art school, and I even hear from like other art schools that yeah, like we are being trained to work in a collaborative setting with other people, and I think their main focus really is just being able to seamlessly transition into those teams, and to be as efficient as possible with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
So, what are some of the kind of animations, character performances that you've recently seen that inspire you to continue on and just go on? I mean, there's a lot out there, obviously, to choose from,
Mm-hmm.
but what
Yeah.
are the ones that you've kind of seen that's really, I don't know, that's really cool? Or, just or wondered how they did it, or
Yeah.
just really set you in awe.
It's got to be like the indie animators right now. I gotta say, because as we know, like it's a really trying time right now, but they're still churning out all of these amazing expressive things,
Yeah.
and I think I'm gonna have to hand it off to them because they're really pushing themselves in their work, and then they're just tossing it out there.
Yeah.
I have to say it's
Well,
definitely that. Yeah.
and I'm curious too, and I have to say this. Happy Saturday, Mr. Dwan. Appreciate you
Happy
stopping
Saturday.
by. It says happy Saturday to you there, Mr. Carlin. Mr. Dwan's a diehard fan and loyal viewer there. I appreciate you tuning in. Um, I'm kind of curious as far as uh, how they approach or what their thoughts on with just the rise of AI? Was that something that they kind of started saying, well, here's how you can start to think about integrating it in what you're doing in animation and character animation? Is it something that you stay away from? What was their kind of talk on AI and this big deal of generative AI with video and
Hmm.
animations and everything going on right now?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, AI, the rise of AI is something serious, but I'd say I'd say that they definitely didn't beat around the bush when it came to it. I think that we kind of needed a more grounded response because a lot of us were on the fence in the sense of like, oh, are we going to have any jobs, or I mean, what's the point of continuing doing this and that? But with that, they kind of solidified in our minds that it's not going anywhere, but more
No,
so that it's not
it's not.
it's big, guys. I'm sorry, but it is big. It's not going anywhere, but it is a tool, and it is a great tool.
Yeah.
I don't see it being in a space where it's replacing some of our art, or even publishing artwork that is AI generated. I don't see it being great in that regard. But outside of it being like a tool and organizing things, optimizing your workflow, getting your thoughts together, I think it's fantastic. I think the reason why the industry in itself is a little bit all over the place is because we're just trying to find a space of fitting it into what is, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
um but yeah, no, they definitely warned us, and they said that we should have at least a foundational understanding of it, and then move accordingly. uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
You mentioned my man Joshua as a
Heck yeah.
big mentor of yours. He's a big mentor of mine too. I tell you, and I
Yep, yep.
looking forward to having him come back on. Um, and I know he's dropped a bunch of wisdom to you. What are and you gave one of them. What are a couple
Mm.
of the other ones? Because I know the thing when I look at Joshua that inspires me is really his work ethic.
Oh yeah.
That's really
Oh
the
yeah.
thing that I look at. I'm like, man, I'm not doing enough. When I look at Joshua, I'm like, man, I'm just not doing enough. But what are some of the things when you look at Joshua that kind of inspire you?
Man, it's got to be like it's, oh, I want to piggyback you, but definitely he works really hard. He does work really hard. I think one of the biggest things that kind of stuck in my mind that he was talking to me is probably during one of my crises that I was having at art school. But is that to take full advantage of the resources that are available to you,
Yeah.
And also, I find myself kind of preaching what he's told me to, newer students or people that are, in our school, or just, jumping into the medium. Take full advantage of your resources, but also, just keep pushing. You really got to break through. And yeah, like I always ask him for help, like, and
Yeah.
if I'm navigating things right. um but
For
yeah, no,
sure.
he's
Hey,
he's
you
he's
know how
great.
I got to do it? Got to drop a bomb on those
Boom.
bombs that are dropped. Was, you know, and you were talking about just a second ago taking advantage of the resources that are
Hmm.
available. Obviously, there are tons of great new resources now in this time that we're in, that are available
Hmm.
to creatives. Was that a kind of a thing that was being talked about your peers, just the software available like Blender? Not necessarily, I mean, obviously your thing is to get in the studio, so you're learning industry standard. But as
Hmm.
far as just the tools that a person, doesn't necessarily have to chunk out a lot of money, to do
Yeah.
and get to creating stuff, was that kind of a thing that was talked about, amongst, your peers and other creatives, just all these tools that are available and channels as well?
Yeah, no, definitely. We talk about it all the time, especially when some of those subscriptions expire. But outside of that, yeah, we
Yeah, when you get to have to pay it.
yeah, be like, okay, hold on, we might need to pivot, guys. This is hitting the bank a little too hard. But outside of that,
Oh
yeah, we talk
man.
about it quite a bit, and we look at alternatives. At that point, as long as we're creating in some way, shape, or form. I mean, it doesn't really matter what you use. You could be using Autodesk Maya, premium versions of the Adobe Creative Suite, or you could be using free software like Blender, which is extremely powerful,
Yeah, I
um,
think Flo can
debatably more
attest to that.
versatile. Yeah.
I think
So
Flo
like,
can attest to that. So
Blender is absolutely amazing. So
yeah,
I think
I'm
before
trying to
I'm just
learn
got to
that
use it
now
a good bit.
myself. Yeah,
I'm
I'm
trying to
trying to.
dive back into it.
Yeah,
But yeah, we
like I
talk about
said, I started out on Lightwave, um, which
Lightwave.
I don't know if you remember or even heard of Lightwave, but
Uh,
yeah,
you
that
could
was,
find
well,
me
I
though.
started out on Softimage, which was like Microsoft owned that, before, and it was
Mm.
used on. The reason I got interested, it was used on Jurassic Park. That
Oh,
was the
okay.
software that was used to create a lot of the dinosaurs and animation in Jurassic Park. But man, it was
Wow.
just too technical for it. It was worse than Maya.
Really?
I mean, as far as the
How
learning
so?
curve, it was just
Yeah.
it was not an artist friendly tool. Artists didn't
Mm.
make it for artists. It was like a tech. It was really big on scripting and just technical. So the manuals were like just insane. So
Yes.
that
Yeah.
just turned me off of 3D. But then I found Lightwave, which was more artist friendly, and
Yeah.
that was the software that was used for Babylon 5, Sequest, a lot of the sci-fi shows that were on TV at the time, because it was really, you could really create stuff fast, and
Hmm.
TV production was fast, so that was really big. But it was really easy to use because it was artists. It was created by artists for artists, so they could
Yeah.
understand it. And so I got
Yeah.
back interested in 3D then, but then moved to, like I said, uh, Lightwave. The creators of Lightwave made Modo, and then I moved over to Modo, and then that's when I found Blender. But Blender, the user interface was not where it was. It turned me off. It was just a whole different
Got
methodology.
better.
Yeah, and I didn't pick up Blender until like 2.8, like most
Mm.
people, when they changed the user interface. So now I'm really digging into Blender and really trying to learn Blender and, really leverage the power of Blender. But that's
Hmm.
what I mean when there's a lot of great tools. I use DaVinci Resolve for my editing,
It's great.
and that their free version, you can pretty much use.
I'm
You
eyeing
know,
it. I'll say
so
that.
I bought the studio version. I got the studio
Mm.
version, but I started out with the free version. I mean, it does 90% of what a basic editor would probably do. YouTube editor
Mhm.
would probably do. Does 90% of it. If you need the AI stuff and some of the plugins, that's okay. You'll buy the
Yeah.
studio version, but even that, it's a one-time purchase.
Oh yeah, see that's good. You know, you're avoiding a
So
subscription on top of
yeah,
that. So yeah.
so that's what I
Yeah.
mean. The tools nowadays are just, it blows my mind, and it seems like there's new tools and you know new developers coming out. I mean, what is it that excites you looking forward when you look, into the future of this industry? I mean, you're seeing a lot of stuff with, a lot of different techniques, into the Spider Verse, Arcane, a lot of different styles. You're seeing a lot of different tools, Unreal, just being used in different ways. What are you seeing, and what are you excited about when you think about 3, 4, 5 years down the line?
Really, just the innovation coming into our medium. You know, animation is a very young, um, very young form of art. You know, dating back to like Steamboat Willie and whatnot. But it's very young, and I'm really excited just to see kind of the versatility um, that's potentially within it, and the stories that are yet to be told, and just forms of expression that have yet to be seen.
Yeah.
It's,
You
it's
know.
it's really great. Really looking
Well,
forward
you
to it.
alluded to it a minute ago. Do you feel like that big change is going to come from the small indie creators rather than the big studios like Disney, Netflix, and stuff like that? Those small creators that are telling those different kind of stories that we're now starting to see. Do you feel like that shift is going to come from them, or is it going to be made from the big studios like Disney, Pixar, and whatnot?
Yeah, so yeah, indie creators, the ball is in your court, in my opinion. The ball is in your court. Uh, I just got to say, we all have very different perspectives, and more of those perspectives that are being pushed out, more of it that's seen. It's very important. Um, and then we build a community in the indie space a lot more seamlessly, I feel. So as long as we're working together, pushing all these things out, getting our message out there, something amazing could potentially come from that. So
Yeah, yeah. Um, what's been kind of the again, as you're
mm.
coming into the industry, what's been kind of the biggest struggle for you to this? I mean, in this short period of time that you got your degree. I mean, you're, you know, how long did it take you to get your first, I guess, job? And or where are you at, employment wise? Tell everybody where you're at, employment
Yeah,
wise, and what you're doing, so we got a context.
I'm still looking, guys, but that I promise I am just as enthused as right when I graduated. Um, I've been I'm surprised I actually haven't mentioned this yet. I've been with Nike for years now, since 2019. So they've been kind of leveraging me as I try to break into the industry. Um, but but yeah, no, just I think having a community around you that is supporting you and that is kind of just driving you and seeing that progress is going to really help all of us a lot.
Yeah,
And we should not go at it alone. I really don't think we should go at it alone. I think having someone there that's cheering for you is going to be very important during a time like this. So we're here to support one another, and it'll land somewhere. I think during this time right now, the most important thing that we all could be doing as like junior artists, or even uh, you know people affected by layoffs, people that are looking for their next gig, is just to keep progressing. Don't let something like this kind of slow you down. Kind of convert that negative energy from the uncertainty, kind of grow into more of inspiration, for you, in a way, achieving your goals and whatnot. So I think it's just important that we just keep moving little by little, at the very
yeah,
least.
no, no,
Mm.
and again, got the bomb on that. It's although, albeit, it is tough when you're, like I said, back is against the wall, and you got bills to pay, and you got
Mhm.
people asking, creditors asking for this, creditors for that. You got a mound of school debt trying to get in. Um, have you how have you managed, or have you had to deal with kind of imposter syndrome coming in? I know that's kind of, it really is a strong thing for newcomers, and even veterans I've had on the show still talk about they deal with imposter syndrome, and they've been in the industry for a good while. How
Yeah.
do you manage it and keep it under control as you're looking and making your way into this industry and on social media, because that's another big driver of just imposter syndrome, because we're getting social media now and you're seeing everybody's work and you're thinking, well, even though you don't know whether, what they've done or this and that, you're looking at, well, wow, is it even worth it for me to even, get into this or compare your work to this work? How do you, as a new creator coming into the industry, keep your imposter syndrome in check?
Yeah, we all definitely go through a phase of imposter syndrome. I think something that I typically do is, I self reflect a little bit, but I also remind myself that I'm here for a reason. And I got captivated by this medium just because of how it was making me feel, and I knew that I wanted to kind of admit that feeling to others. So I think being able to just take a step back, maybe go for a walk, and ask yourself, like what attaches you to this, and really hold on to that, really hold on to that, and tell yourself that you're gonna achieve it, no matter what comes your way. I think it's definitely gonna help a lot. But along with that, again, community. We are a very, I'd say we're pretty small compared to other industries. So just keep that community intact, uh, and just motivate each other and keep pushing forward. Just keep having something
Yeah.
to push out.
Yeah. Now, definitely, I always tell everybody you tell a person by the community they surround themselves.
Yes, yes, it's
So
very important.
surrounding yourself with other creative people is definitely what'll help keep you going. Miss Tia Jones, proud of you, Carlin. She's proud of you.
Thank you, Tia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tia, for stopping by, and I hope you don't make this the last time. Um, what are some other skill levels
Mm,
that you're eh, that you're looking to? I mean, you said you're wanting to get into rigging. What are some of
mm.
the other skill levels that you feel like I need to strengthen myself? On.
Yeah, anything that enhances storytelling, which is a multitude of things, right? I eventually, in animation, I want to get to a point where, I want to make that that impact or that emotion that I'm emitting to the audience as strong as possible. So anything that kind of helps me move towards that, I definitely want to kind of add to my belt.
Yeah.
So yeah, rigging, and even a little bit of modeling. I think actually before I went to SCAD, I did this simulation and game design program where I had a foundational understanding of the entire 3D pipeline. So I did find out some things that I could potentially dive into. That just takes a little bit of effort of getting back in there and just diving into it and getting it under my belt. But
It
there's a
is
lot of
like you
things.
said. Yeah, well, like I said, it's so many things, and I guess that's it could be a blessing or a curse. You get, like I said, you tend to fall down a rabbit hole because there are so many different lanes that you
Yeah,
can go down. But then you realize if I really want to get good at this, if I really want to get better at this particular thing, I got to dedicate more time to just this. And I've noticed that, just like I said, it is a very big skill set or a very powerful, deep skill set to take an inanimate object like a 3D model or like a maquette model, stop motion, and make you feel something from it when you watch it. And it gives you
yeah,
a honest performance to where you're not even thinking about the fact that it's 3D or
yeah.
or stop motion. You're caught up in the story of it because the
That immersion,
characters
right?
the immersion of it. And it takes
Hmm.
a very very, very, very skilled person to animate that, to animate the subtle nuances of a face, to really get you to feel something.
A
So
lot
I
going
give a
on.
lot of props. Yeah, I give a lot of
Yeah.
props to animators, because I really didn't, I guess I really didn't fully understand it until I watched like serious ones, really
Mm,
serious animators, and they were showing their process, and they're learning the muscles underneath the face and
yes,
how the
studying
muscles
all of
ripple
this.
this, and I'm like, man, okay. They got to
It's
learn
deep. It's deep.
what this muscle is called and what that muscle is called. I'm like, this isn't biology.
What pushes what? Yeah. Hey, hey, you really gotta dive in there if you want
It's
to.
like, this is biology class.
Yeah.
Or like it is, like which I love watching his
Mm,
tutorials. He's a great animator. Aaron Blaze from
mm,
Disney.
mm.
He does a lot of animal. He just actually, his short was up for an Oscar. I don't think it won, but it was up for an Oscar. Snow Bear, and he
Snow Bear.
hand drew that. It was all hand drawn. Took him 3 years to do it. I think
Whew.
11,000. I think he said 11,000 drawing, over 11,000 drawings. Um, but just uh, the nuance of animating it and bringing the character to life and spending the time to do it is a craft that you have to appreciate when you sit and
Mhm.
watch. Somebody actually do it. You don't get an
Yeah.
appreciation until you watch the making of.
Yes, the making of really does kind of bridge that. I'm
it,
not.
it
Yes.
bridges the gap. You get a whole new appreciation for stop motion animators, 2D animators, all that stuff. You get a whole new appreciation for when you see, the work that goes into it to bring
Mm,
something that you don't even think about while you're watching it. You're
yeah.
just caught up in the story of it. What are some of the stories that you're wanting to tell that are, kind of like I said, do you have stories that you want to? I'm not saying assuming that you're an animator that you want to tell your own stories. You
Yeah.
might just be an animator who loves bringing other people's stories to life. Are there stories that you have in your head that you want to bring out, that you have characters for, that you want to see come to life?
Yeah, I definitely want to eventually tell a story. I'm still writing notes, like in terms of ideas and what can be grand and what I guess could be a little bit more compact. But I definitely have some stories that I want to tell. Just to backtrack on the, it was funny because you were mentioning the details of the process of animation. I
Mm-hmm.
am the animator that gets super excited over the tiny muscle movements that make that character feel that make
And
that
true
character feel a
ones
lot more
do.
alive.
I
So
mean, and they're
yeah,
true animators do. They love
yeah.
that stuff because, like I said, they know it makes craft better. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's the subtle things like that that the audience is going to attach to, and they may not realize it, as they're watching it, but it's gonna make them attach with that character, and make the story a lot more relatable.
yeah,
They may put themselves in that character as well. So it's just the small details like that that really enhance it
yeah.
and make it more appealing. So
And
yeah.
Aaron's the same way when it comes to animals. He talks
Hmm.
about the muscles underneath the animals, the bulk of the. He said you're not going to be able to push and pull and do that Looney Tune type of animation until you understand the mechanics of how an animal
Of
really
actually
does
how it should
move.
move, right?
Yeah,
Precisely,
how an
precisely.
animal actually moves, how the fur moves, how the muscles ripple underneath that fur, type of
Mm-hmm.
thing, how they
Mm-hmm.
walk, all that kind of stuff. It was stuff that I guess I really didn't think about
Mm-hmm.
too much until again you start getting into it and learning about just you know the back end of it and how to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say if you're one that wants to get better at character, and this is no plug, I am trying to get him on the show. Uh, uh, Aaron McGriff, Pixar animator, he does have classes and he does teach character animating, and that's what got me to look. I saw his, some of his, kind of. He showed some clips of his training,
Mm-hmm.
but he was teaching the muscles, talking about the orbits, and wasn't even animated. He was just talking about the anatomy. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, he gets really deep into, you really realize if you really want a believable performance, you got to understand the muscles that make those performances and stuff like
Exactly.
that. So, I give a lot of props to animators. It's a I give a lot of props to anybody in any profession because it really does take a lot. Whether it's rigging, I'm not a rigger. I
Hmm.
can get in and kind of rig my own stuff, but to sit and rig a character day in and day out and understand that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Texture artist is the same thing. It's a skill set. You know, making great textures that are believable is a skill set. UV wrapping is a skill set. You can learn the basics of it, but you obviously it's a deep road that you can go down and really dive into. So that's what I mean when you know a job is so much deeper than what it really is, and what you do and what we do is so much deeper, than what it really is. Mr. Alcubalon, how you doing? Hello, Carlin. Appreciate you stopping
Hello.
by. We're having an amazing conversation with 3D Animator and recent graduate last year, Carlin Taylor, getting into the industry. Um, you said you work to encourage your
Mm.
classmates and keep them encouraged and things like that. What are How are they finding getting in? Majority of your classmates, have they found getting in easier, or have some got in, some not got in? I mean, how have your classmates kind of fared?
I'd say majority have not gotten in. If I am being very blunt and truthful,
Yeah.
but I am starting to see like these sparks kind of happen. And as soon as I see those sparks, I try to kind of help them kind of light that fire. I try to motivate them to keep going because this is going in the right direction as I keep saying. But yeah, we haven't really broken in there yet, but I know that we will. So.
Well, I mean, because again, while you're looking,
Hmm.
unless you're living at home, you got to deal with everyday lives of paying bills and this and that type of
Yeah.
thing. Um, keeping your skill set up while you're on the hunt for a job, and while you're still trying to find anything that can just pay the bills type of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
how do you keep your skill sets up? Do you dedicate? I'm giving a certain amount of time,
Mm,
to
yeah.
working in this software. I'm giving a certain amount of time for outreach, to reaching
Exactly.
out to companies. How are you approaching looking for a job?
Exactly how you said it. I put it on a schedule, which is kind of funny. I meant to mention this earlier, as a thing that I recommend that we are all kind of working towards. Definitely put yourself on a schedule. Getting out of school, you are kind of used to it. You have class times, you have assignment deadlines. Let me say that again: deadlines. All of those are very important. So when you get out of there, definitely put yourself on a schedule. Dedicate a certain amount of time to learning. Um, Everyone
Do
is a
you
student.
give
You're
yourself
forever a student.
projects? Do you
Yeah,
give yourself
yeah.
projects, or do you just, okay, I'm just going to kind of learn this and kind of keep my skills or what I've learned
Mm,
in school, just that. I know artists say the best way to learn is to give yourself projects,
yeah,
to
yeah.
continue to learn stuff. So how are you, laying out projects and learning new things?
Yeah. So I definitely it typically happens whenever I'm trying to like exemplify a certain type of character on my own in terms of like projects. Like I might get a rig and then I'll attach a certain idea to them and then I'll start planning out sequences in that way, just to kind of practice storytelling and things of that nature. But um, I guess when I'm not independent, when I'm not like working by myself, I try to help out my friends with like their film ideas. I think something that I've been doing recently was just helping out a lot of thesis films.
Mm,
Helping out animators that are just growing. Do um, draw overs on their shots and things like that, just to keep myself really active.
yeah,
And then I just kind of move in that way since then, and then
yeah,
just have
yeah.
everything neat and organized. on a schedule.
No, that's
Mm.
obviously the best way to be. We're going to take a look uh, at some of Carlin's work, and then come back and jump into some more conversation. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that he's doing.
No, well, me mate's mum's had this shop for like 40 odd years.
Where have you been?
Some amazing work, definitely. And obviously, again, the key is always, as always, just continuing to do work. That's how you get better at
Right.
what you do. Um, you know, you're learning a lot of different stuff. Obviously, your lane of choice is character animating.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for you, some of the you know some of the animations that you've seen today, as
Mm.
far as character performance, what have you seen any that's stood out to you that was like that was a great character performance, animated character?
Man, there's so many. Ooh, yeah, I'd say. I mean, as of recent, I can't beat around the bush. I mean, this isn't as recent, but it really sticks in my head. It was Nimona. Nimona,
Oh
I
yeah,
believe it was
Demona.
Nimona. I
Demona.
think that was probably one of the most pivotal moments for me, since I think even with my time at SCAD to now, just because I learned about a lot of like what goes into their performances in particular, and it ever since then it kind of drove my mindset towards like character analysis and character like performance, and I guess in a film setting, but also just in general animation, right? Um, there was actually a talk that I had the honor of attending by Ted T. I hope I said his name right, but he showed this graph, um, basically showing the characters' emotions throughout the entirety of the film. So their high points, their low points, and then like highlighting certain areas of the film where a certain crisis might have happened and how that might
Yeah.
affect certain decisions and whatnot. And I saw that, and I was jotting so much in my notebook at that time. I was like, oh yeah, this is the stuff that I really want to get right. And I think since I've seen that, I could not get that kind of mindset out of my head, and that's kind of shaped the direction that I really want to master in animation as well.
So, but
So
does it normally take you too long to find the character's center point that you're, you know, trying to animate, or do you spend that time really going through the backstory? And that was another thing that I picked up from watching Aaron's, little clips that he was showing of his training. Just
mhm.
the time of really writing out backstory, what this
Yeah.
character feels, how this character walk, really, really dialing into before you even sit down to animate
Mm.
or touch the character type of thing.
Yeah, no, I love that part. More or less, more or less. I would say that I want to say that's probably where I spend most of my time, like, and just in my workflow and my animation process. So I get a book. I have multiple little journals kind of laying around,
Yeah.
where I establish the character that I really want to, exemplify in animation. And then, I write down their goals, I write down their personality, I write down what motivates them. Um, I even went down as deep as to wrote down like some of their their issues that they're going through day to day, income, beliefs, what they like, what they dislike. I mean, you can really dive into a character, and if you can show as much of those as possible in this tight knit performance, I think it really just enhances the shot. So basically, yeah, and I think that pre-production and just planning, I think that makes a strong animation. You can animate someone doing something amazing, but I think the intention behind it can actually make or break it. That I feel like that's pretty. That could be a hit or miss on certain animators, but that's just kind of what I believe in that regard.
Well, you mentioned kind of when you got into SCAD, you kind of were coming fresh into animation.
Yeah,
you didn't have any idea.
I didn't have none of this.
Any idea about animating or anything like that. What was the hardest thing to pick up on when you started animating?
I think just learning the software was probably the hardest
software.
It could have been just learning the software and because it's a little scary when you open it and you see like a NASA computer in front of you and all these buttons and things of that nature. But I knew what I wanted to get towards, and I think that kind of pushed me through it for sure. Actually, that's definitely what pushed me through it. So
well, I know for me, it would have been. I don't know. Obviously, animating a character is hard enough. But when you're animating two characters interacting with each other, it seems very hard, type of thing. Was that something that was hard for you to grasp when you started animating two characters interacting with each other and making the interaction believable?
Yeah, no. You definitely reminded me of a rough all nighter. I remember I was taking this course and we had these full fledged rigs. I think I graduated from like the bony rigs, with no faces.
Yeah.
So right when I took that course, I was being extremely ambitious. I think that was one of my biggest things that I had to kind of fix really quick in my time at SCAD. Was kind of establish myself in a little bit of realism. But with that, animating multiple characters is tough, and I think the principle of not having one character outshine another, and having this character still while this character has the spotlight on them is very, very important to establish. I think I notice it a lot on. It's one of the mistakes that we run into is that we're just animating so much going on at the same time, and the audience doesn't know where to focus. It's really a skill set to exemplify that composition as well as possible. So that is hard. It's hard.
Well, when you're animating, what do you start with on the character? When you're animating a character, do you start with just general blocking, hips, legs,
my workflow,
face? I mean, what's kind of your process when you're sitting to animate a character?
It'll depend on the complexity of the animation. If it's a very complex animation, I do a pose-to-pose workflow, which is just establishing. I animate everything. I don't break anything up. I animate from head to toe, pose to pose throughout the entirety of the animation, and everything is in step. If it's more of a, I guess, more realistic it is, I do a straight ahead workflow, which is basically, as it sounds, just animating everything straight ahead. I think, that's typically my workflow, and I work from step, and then I bring it into breakdown, still in stepped. Then I bring it in the spline, and then it looks a hot mess when you bring it in the spline, and then you polish it. And then you add the little details, nuance details that make the audience, attached to your work, and then.
So when you're doing a character that has, say, action attached to it,
action, body mechanics,
or just any type of mechanics, whether it's walking or really say game animatics type of action. So, but they also have facial expression. Also are expressing emotive as well. Are you? Doing how are you doing the facial expressions after you position them? Is that when you go in and do the facial expression?
I think that's I think that's a no. You can animate like that, but I think that
I would like to know. No, I've
yeah.
never done that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've seen some animators that animate the body and they focus strictly on the body mechanics, and then they animate the face after that. I usually tell them kind of to avoid that because you're missing out on just that connectivity, right? So they might be having this grandiose pose, but you know their face is
Expression.
it's just not. You can kind of
Don't match the
tell that
pose.
it's not connected with it, right? It's not the face isn't matching the energy of the body of the pose
Yeah.
itself, and you have to match those. So yeah, I usually animate all of those together for sure, and
Okay.
depending on the length of it, I might do pose to pose, and if it's like he's doing flips, straight ahead. So
Gotcha.
mhm.
Obviously, your tool of choice is Maya, or
Yep, it is Maya. Guilty. Love me some Maya. Yeah, Maya's
man.
great, but I mean, I've it's on the schedule of learning Blender because I've seen some really cool rigs that aren't available in Maya, and I want to animate those characters. So it's just amazing. I haven't used Blender in a while, so that was the only thing that's kind of like tugging on me.
Man, that's the thing. Well, I guess that's the thing about indie creator. There's so many softwares that you have to have your hand in. If you're kind of an indie or small creator, there's Photoshop, Substance
Mm,
Painter,
mm.
whatever it is, editor. If you're doing it, you don't have a lot of people helping you. Is that a tough thing for you as well? Kind of juggling all the softwares that you kind of have to work through to get your
Yeah.
idea out there.
I think it's a sense of solidifying the workflow for me. So I definitely know my workflow from software to software. That's why it's a little bit daunting to like jump into a new one as of right now, especially after what I've just learned. Because I mean, I know I can execute a thorough, polished animation with what I have now, but um, you have to kind of tell yourself some of the tools that you may be missing out on that may be able to enhance the animation and the things that you're creating. So you always have to step out of your comfort zone if you want to grow, and I tell people that all the time, and I need to read my own advice, of course. So so with that, yeah,
No,
definitely
no,
jumping into new
it's a
things
hard
is
thing to
motivated.
push yourself out
Yeah.
of your comfort zone. That was the thing with me with Blender nodes.
Hmm.
I mean, I wasn't. I'm still having a hard time with nodes. You know,
They're so powerful though, right?
they are. That's why I
Yeah.
love them. They're powerful, and
Hmm.
that's why I'm trying to learn and get better at nodes. But man, it's just wrapping your head around it is when you're so used to layer based things like Photoshop and all of that, it's a very hard thing to kind of change the
But the
mindset.
potential, the potential, Don, the
I
potential.
know, the potential of it. Mr. Dewan, your animation looked great, Carlin. You put in a lot of thought into how and a lot of the character, how to let the characters emote and be timed just right. And again,
Thank you.
I'm a big fan of character animators, 2D, 3D, whatever, stop motion. I'm a big fan because again, uh, it's a skill to take an inanimate object and give it feeling and emotion and
Breathing that life.
enough to make somebody connect with it, type of thing. So that's a skill.
Hmm.
That's a skill.
Thank you so much. Very kind words.
We have been having an amazing conversation with my man Carlin Taylor, 3D animator extraordinaire. Just getting into the industry. He's on the job hunt like everybody else. Or, well, not everybody else, but a lot of people on the
Hmm.
job hunt, trying to level up their skills, learn new things. That's why I really am excited for you. You know, you know,
Oh,
like I
thanks.
said, you're in this time. Uh, Trust me. Even though it's scary and it's kind of the time it is, trust me. I've like I said, I've been in the industry a little bit.
Mm.
Not just animation, but just in graphics and just technology. And trust me, I started. Everything was done by hand, aced up production, done by hand. There was no computers. They were just starting to kind of come around in design and that type of thing. So I've seen the growth of technology over the span of time that I've had to level up my skills as well and learn new things. So I'm excited for you because you're coming into this time with all these tools and the energy, to really put behind these tools. So I'm excited to see what comes out of your hands, creation wise, Carlin.
Thank you so much, Don. Thank you so much.
As we bring this ship into the shore, I want to give you one, final opportunity to kind of share that golden nugget for that high schooler that's sitting in class that may be thinking about, maybe I want to be an animator. Maybe I want to be a character animator. What would be that golden nugget that you would want to leave them with?
Yeah, so little high schooler, or to all of those that are interested in jumping into this field, I say, we welcome you with open arms. We can't wait to see your creations. Definitely, stick with it. It is a journey. There are going to be ups and downs, but as long as you are progressing in any way, shape, or form, you will make it there. You will make it there. It's going to take some hard work, but you will make it there as long as your heart is with it, and you're attaching to what you're creating. That you'll go far in this industry for sure. So just keep putting your stuff out there. If you're worried about what you're throwing out, I mean, don't just put it out there. Just throw it
Yeah.
out there. People love seeing progress, and you'll naturally form a community that supports you and loves what you're doing. So just definitely take that step, cross that line, and just get in there.
Yeah. And again, Barb, you got to take the step. Nobody's going to know. It's not going to get better until you put your work out there and really start pushing your skill set. That's what I try to do, push my skill set as much as I can. Man, oh man, this has been a great conversation. Make sure that you hop on over and connect with Carlin. Check out his Instagram. Yeah, over here. Over
Woo.
here. Check out his Instagram channel. You can find him on LinkedIn as well. That's where I connected with him. Definitely help get plugged into his community. Encourage him to keep going on the journey. I'm, like I said, excited about the future work that comes from the hands of Carlin Taylor, and I'll be able to say, "Hey, I had Carlin on when he just graduated, when he's working at
Sure did.
Pixar, and his movie wins the Oscar. Man, don't forget
Whoa.
about me, Carlin. Don't forget about me, man."
No
No, but
doubt.
like I said, you try and get exposure. Like I said, the only way that you're going to get known is to get out there and put yourself out there, and get connected with the community. I tell everybody my lifeline is all my fellow creatives. For me, that's what keeps me going. That's what feeds me. If I didn't have that, yeah, I don't know where I'd be. So surround yourself. Uh, and get yourself in a good community of creatives that feed you, inspire you, and that push you. So definitely get connected with him on his channels. Cannot thank Mr. Carlin enough. He is now officially a Color of Motion family member and is always welcome back to the studio to keep us updated with what's going on with him and what he's working on. Man, this has been a fun conversation, Carlin, and I cannot thank you enough, brother, for coming on.
Of course,
And
Don. Likewise. Likewise.
sharing, your insights coming into this industry. I know, even with the challenges that you're facing, you're excited. I can feel your excitement and your enthusiasm for really pushing your skill level. So that's why I can't wait to see what comes from your hands.
Of course. Thank you so much, Don. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here.
Thank you. Thank you. If you could hang out in the green room for just a second while I close out the show, I would appreciate it. But everybody, please, 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 let's thank again our very special guest, Mr. Carlin Taylor, for coming on. Carlin, hang out in the green room while I close this puppy out. This has been another great episode. Man, it's been fun. And like I said, Season 6, quarter 2, man, has been on fire. Man, just don't know what to say. Next week, you definitely do not want to miss it because it's the last episode before our next hiatus. So we are closing out quarter 2 on big fashion. Super looking forward to next week's guest, Mr. Ayodele Elegba, CEO and founder of Spoof Animation. And actually, he was supposed to be on 3 weeks ago. He was our guest that was scheduled 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago. But emergency came up. And so now we've got him back on, and he is closing us out for quarter 2. So I was super looking forward to Mr. Legba coming on and talking spoof animation and animation in general. Man, oh man, oh man. I hope you guys had as much fun as I've had doing this episode. I hope you learned something. For those ones that are just looking, thinking about coming into the industry, make sure you go back and check out this episode. Carlin dropped a lot of great information, a lot of great knowledge, and shared a lot. And definitely looking forward to having him come back on for sure as he moves along in his journey. Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. Well, this has been a great one. I hope you have an amazing weekend and an even productive week. I will see you next week to close out quarter 2. Same bat time, same bat channel. Cheers, everybody.